chapter 1189 brief spoilers are here, and after the end of last chapter, I had no clue how this arc was going to continue, but it looks like Gaban is stepping in and fighting Emu. We'll see how long Gaban lasts. He might be dying in a couple chapters, but knowing Oda, I think Gaban will be just fine. But let's get into this chapter. The chapter title is King of the World, and the cover request is Nami scolding three monkeys, who is Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji. There is another break next week, unfortunately. But let's get straight to these spoilers. So starting off, Emu gets another weapon called Sea God Sword and stabs Luffy again. Then Emu pins Luffy to a tree with both swords. So at the end of last chapter, we saw Luffy get impaled by the sword of the Wailing Void, and it looks like Emu's pulling out another sword called the Sea God Sword and is stabbing Luffy again and pinning him to a fucking tree. So I think Luffy's gonna be down for a while. So I think Loki's still gonna have to come into the story and try to stall Emu some more. But Luffy really did just get packed up last chapter. Like, I thought maybe Gear 6 Luffy was gonna come in and we were gonna get some Looney Tunes bullshit from Oda, but it looks like Luffy's actually packed up. The name of the sword is very interesting to me. Like the Sea God Sword, we're gonna learn more about these swords later in the chapter. I just find it really interesting that it's the Sea God Sword, considering we have a sea god in One Piece and that's Shirahoshi. So is there a connection between this sword and Shirahoshi, or like this sword and the Fishman? But moving on to the next spoiler, we have Usopp senses something bad has happened to Luffy. So Usopp might be using some observation haki here. I'm not really sure. I think other characters have been able to like sense if someone's spirit has gone away. So maybe this isn't observation haki. But again, earlier in the arc, I always wondered, like, how did Usopp know that Brook was getting fucked up by Emu? How did Usopp know to go there? And maybe it's his observation haki. Maybe it's that sensing ability that Sanji has for women, where Usopp's able just to sense that his comrades are in danger and he's able to go there. So maybe we get an Usopp moment here coming up. Like maybe this is Usopp sensing that someone's in danger, Luffy's in danger, he's gonna go try to fight Emu. I guess we're gonna have to wait until the chapter comes out to really see like what Usopp's doing in this moment, if it is an observation haki type of thing, or if it's just like, oh, I can sense that Luffy's packed up. Yeah, it looks like Usopp's not getting Ragnir and fighting Emu. That was one of the options that I had for who was gonna like stand in to fight Emu. Maybe it was gonna be Usopp, but he can still come into this battle later. Like now that we are staying in Elbaf, I honestly thought we were leaving Elbaf, but since we're staying in Elbaf, Usopp still has a chance for a moment, so it could come later. But moving on to the next spoiler, Gunko's ice has melted, but she still hasn't regained consciousness. So last chapter, the process started, she was starting to unthaw, and we saw Emu start to freak out like, oh shit, Gunko's about to unthaw, and Brook's right there. Oh fuck, I remember this guy. So it looks like she's finally out, but she hasn't regained consciousness. So I think we're still just building to this moment where either she's gonna be evil, she's gonna be in Gunko form and fight those Straw Hats, or Gunko's gonna be in her Shuri form and we're gonna get the reunion with Brook. I think this is a good sign because it's still building. Like we're still building towards this moment, and we're still building towards like the Sanji fights and the Zoro fights. So we really haven't got to the climax of those battles. So I think that Elbaf still has a lot of time to go through. I thought we might have been done last chapter and all of this was going to be saved for like an Enies Lobby, like a part 2 of Elbaf against Emu, but it looks like we're still building towards these climactic battles. But moving to the next spoiler, Loki remembers a conversation with Shanks the day when Harold died. Shanks said the world government was preparing for the future war. So this is when they were just sitting in the throne room. I'm guessing this was like right after this moment that we have on screen. Shanks tells Harold about this great war that everyone's been talking about throughout the entire story. This is something that's been building since Marineford when Whitebeard was talking about the final war. I think that all of these top tiers just kind of know that a final war is inevitable, and Shanks might actually know more. Maybe on Laugh Tale there was talk about a future war. I think that it's been prophesized this entire time, and that's why Emu knows about it. That's why Emu's acting now, trying to get the giants, is because they know the final war is coming and it's inevitable. But moving to the next spoiler, Emu gives Sommers a weapon called the Sword of Wrath to fight Zoro. So I don't know if Emu's going over to Sommers and giving him the sword, like actually giving it to him physically, or if Emu is like summoning the sword out of Sommers' omen. Maybe Emu is able to draw things out of Sommers and Killingham's omen, but Emu gives him a new sword called the Sword of Wrath. I'm really interested in this because it just makes this fight more interesting, because Sommers is ass and he's getting even more power-ups. He needs these power-ups to win. And Emu gives Killingham a weapon called the Spear of Holy Command to fight Sanji. So Emu is giving Sommers and Killingham their brand new weapons. So Emu is bringing out the full fucking arsenal right now. We're about to learn about the swords, but Emu has all of these different swords. I'm guessing they all have different abilities, and Emu is able to give them out. It's kind of like Emu able to give out the Devil Fruit abilities, the same way they were able to give out these yokai abilities to the elders. But Emu upgrades their weapons. So Emu has given them fucking Maki. They have the immortality from Emu. They have these new weapons from Emu. And here's what's shit about this, in my opinion. It's like Sanji and Zoro are still gonna win. Sanji and Zoro are going to beat Sommers and Killingham, even though they've gotten 2 fucking power-ups. Like these God Knights and these elders and Emu have looked dog shit since Egghead. I'm gonna be honest. Since they've actually came into the story, they've looked shit. They've lost every single fight. In present day, in flashbacks, they always lose. And now they're getting this Omen power-up and these weapons power-up. So I'm like, holy holy shit, they're actually gonna be menacing. But then when they get these power-ups for the first time, they're gonna just lose again. But moving on, let's talk about the weapons from Imu. So all of the weapons Imu uses are weapons that belong to the 19 kings from 800 years ago. So this is something that I've seen people theorize about, that like all of these different weapons, the glaive that Imu uses, the Wailing Void sword, and the two swords that, actually the three swords that Imu uses in this chapter, they're all swords from the kings of the past. So this is why I was interested in the Sea God sword from earlier, is like, if that was one of the swords from the kings, why does one of the kings have the Sea God sword? Were the fishmen connected to these 19 kings at one point, or were there some king of the sea? You know, who owned these other weapons? Who owned the Wailing Void sword? Was that Imu's original sword? Who owned the spear that went to Killingham? Who owned the sword that went to Sommers? What was the sword of Alabasta? Or did Alabasta's sword never come to the Holy Land because Lily never went to the Holy Land? I don't know. I feel like this is really badass. I hope we get to see all of these different swords, like all of their abilities. I hope it's not just an SBS fucking question. Imu's bag is insane. Like, they have 19 different swords with different abilities to choose from. You've got Maki, you've got insane Conquers Haki. This could actually be some more evidence for my idea that the Abyss is just like a storage place. Like, it's just another dimension that Imu gets to store shit in, because it's not like Imu's creating these swords out of nothing. If these are the original swords from back then Imu is storing them in the Abyss. So when Imu pulls them out of the Omen thing, they're taking it from a storage container instead of just creating them out of thin air. So I've always thought that like the Abyss is a place holding this ancient demon. It's this place where all of this shit is stored, and that could be the idea. Maybe all of these eyes in the Omen ring are symbolizing each of the 20 kings, like those are the swords. I don't know, probably make another video theorizing about that once we get the full chapter coming out, but I'm really interested in these swords. Getting into our last spoiler, the chapter ends. Imu is about to kill Luffy with the Xingtan axe, but Gaban appears and blocks Imu's attack. Okay, so like I said, Gaban is coming in and he is going to stall Imu. I think it's pretty fitting that Imu's trying to kill Luffy with an axe and Gaban uses axes and he's blocking the attack. So it is one thing to note that these aren't all swords. Like here we have an axe, we had a spear going to Killingham, so maybe these are all like different types of weapons. They're just weapons, they're not all swords. How long is Gaban gonna last? I don't really know, because he kind of got shit on by Gunko. I know his child was held hostage, but it's like, dude, Gaban is pretty old. And this is Imu that we're talking about. Imu who just shit on Gear 5 Luffy, who just kind of shit on Loki. So it's like, I don't know what Gaban's really supposed to do at this point. You know, I've seen people talk about, oh, Bonnie can maybe de-age him to his prime form. We get to see prime Gaban. But even then, I mean, I feel like Luffy should be stronger than prime Gaban. So I just don't really see what Gaban can do. He does have the ability to use like really good Conquers Haki. He's fought immortal beings before, so he has the abilities. But this is Imu that we're talking about that can shoot fucking homing fireballs, use the stigma attack, can grow their size of their body. I just don't really know what Gaban's gonna be able to do here. Gaban might be dying. I mean, Oda doesn't really kill characters, but Gaban should die in this situation. Gaban should try to hold off. Maybe Usopp comes and helps Gaban. That would be pretty sick. I think what's gonna have to happen is Gaban and maybe Usopp's gonna have to hold off Imu for some time until Loki can come back into it. That's what I theorized about, was that Luffy was gonna have to take a break at some point to grow, to learn about Haki, whatever the fuck, Maki, and Loki was gonna have to come back into the fight, maybe in hybrid form. So maybe that's the idea, is that, okay, Luffy got shit on a lot quicker than we thought, so now Gaban's gonna have to step in and try to fight. He might actually die, but then Loki's gonna have enough time to finally heal up and then come back into the fight. But it seems like we're staying in Elbaf, so I do think that Loki's gonna have to step back in and try to fight Imu, and then Luffy's gonna come into the final act. We are going to get something with Shuri and Brook. We're going to complete the Sommers and Zoro fight. We're going to complete the Sanji and Killingham fight. But that's all I got for today's video. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. See ya.